Hi guys, and welcome to another video of the Fundamentals of Game Design with me, Alex Kerr. So today, in this video, we're going to be looking at some more of the Unity basics, going over some hotkeys and shortcuts and other useful tips. Okay, so to begin, we'll come back into Unity. So in the last video, we went over the different windows, the hierarchy, scene, game, and inspector. And today, we're going to be looking at creating some game objects and other things which we can use inside of Unity. So to begin, we're going to come into the hierarchy window and we're going to right click, come down to 3D object and click cube. So now we can see this has created a cube in our scene, and this is the perfect example to show the hotkeys and quick. And this is a perfect example to show the hotkeys that we can use when we're moving around in the scene. So right now, if we press Q, we can see we have the hand tool, which allows us to move like this, like we did when we clicked in the mouse wheel. If we press W, we can now move the object. This is the move tool. If we press E, we can now rotate the object in any axis. If we press R, we can scale the object up and down or in different axes again. If we press T, we get to see the transform box. So we can edit this as well by stretching objects in and out to create new shapes. And Y gives us everything that we can see. So we've got the move, we've got the resize, we've got the rotate. We've got everything there in one when we press Y. So quickly pressing W again will bring us straight back here so we can move our box around the scene. Now it's good to look over in the inspector window here as well, so we can see we have our cube selected, and when I move it in the X-axis, we can see the X-axis is in red here. When I click and drag and move it in the X-axis, over in the inspector window on the transform position X, we can see this figure will move up and down. The same if we move it in the Z or in the Y, of course. And if we press E, come to rotate, we would rotate it and we can see it's been rotated in the Y axis here as well. So now to learn a little bit more about the hierarchy window and how we can use it to help us, if we wanted some objects to be together, we can make them a parent and child combo. So to do this, let's create another object. So let's first select what we want to be our parent object, which is this cube. And we're going to right click again, come down to 3D object, and this time we're going to make a sphere. And we can see the sphere has been made inside our cube. So if we want to move that, all we have to do is press W, bring up our move tool, and let's just move it in the Z axis to here. Now, with it being a parent and a child, whatever happens to the parent will be reflected to the child. So for an example, if we start to rotate the cube, so remember we're here, we press E, and we bring up the rotate tool, and we can see here that it's not on the object, it's between the two objects. Now that brings us to our other little buttons here, which were next to our scene gizmos. We have here the center of the pivot and the global position of the pivot. So if we select global and local, we can see the rotation changes slightly between its local rotation and its rotation globally. The same when we select here, we can see if it's centered on the object that we have selected, or if it's in the center of all the objects selected, which means it's child here as well. This does make some difference. Say we wanted the sphere to rotate around the cube, and we try to do it now, we can see it doesn't rotate around the cube, they rotate around each other, around this central point between the two. But if we wanted to keep the cube where it was, we would have to go over here to center, and now we can see it's here. And because this is the child, it's still reflected, we can rotate, the cube stays where it is, and the sphere rotates with it. So this is the parent and child and different combos we can use with them. It's really handy for doing anything like this if we wanted two objects to move in unison together. It can come in handy when we're doing animations and we need to find a select part of the body, and many other useful tools that we're going to come across in this course. Okay, so moving on. Now that we've created a little game object here, a cube and a sphere that are linked together, if we wanted to create lots of these, and it would be difficult to create cube, create sphere, create cube, create sphere, what we can do is use Unity's prefabs. How we create a prefab is quite simple. We can click on our object, drag and drop it down into our assets folder, and this will automatically create a prefab for us, as we can see here, asset scenes cube prefab. So it takes the name of the object here. So if we just called this prefab cube, and then delete this from here, delete, and grab this and drag it down, it's now called prefab cube down here. And what we can then do is drag this back into the scene from our assets folder, and we've got two of them in exactly the same position. So let's just press W, and now we can see we have another one. And if we wanted another one, click, drag and drop it in, and we've got many prefabs like this. This isn't the only way. Of course, if we wanted another one, we can use some of the classic shortcuts, which are Control-C, Control-V, brings us up a new one. We can use Control-D to automatically duplicate another one. If we wanted to duplicate everything in the scene, we can use Control-A, which will select everything, and then Control-C, Control-V. We now have duplicates of everything in the scene. We move this up, we can see here. We've also got another directional light, which is why the lighting has gone weird. But don't worry about that. Just Control-Z now. Control-Z again to undo those moves. Okay, so now the last little bit for this video. We're going to get rid of all these prefab cubes for the time being. And we're going to create a new cube. And over here, we want to look at the inspector window this time. So in here, the inspector window, we can see our transform, our cube mesh filter. The cube mesh filter tells the game engine what kind of shape it is, what kind of mesh is making this, which is a cube in this instance. The mesh render then sets the material onto that cube shape, that mesh, hence the mesh renderer, which is why our cube in the scene has the gray color, the default material down here. We can also see it has a box collider, which allows it to collide with anything else in the scene which has another collider attached to it. So this inspector window has all the components that attach to a game object. For this last little bit of the video, what we're going to do is create a game object completely from new. So we're going to come into our hierarchy window again, and if we want to create a completely new object, what we can do, we can hold Control, Shift, and N, and what we have now is a new game object. All it has is a transform, which is needed to be in the scene. It has to have a place to be, and other than that, it has nothing. So if I move this over here, we can see absolutely nothing there. So for this last little bit, we're going to go over how to add components, and we're going to build a cube from nothing now in this last little bit. So first of all, we come to add component. And if you remember, the first thing that our game object has was a transform, which is the same as the cube, and then it needed a mesh filter. So we're going to add a mesh filter, and here it says non-mesh, so we're going to click this little circle and dot button here, and we can select some of the pre-made meshes here which come with Unity. So we're just going to select cube again, double click, and now we've got cube in there. The next thing we needed was a mesh renderer. So now we've added our mesh renderer. We can see it's trying to add a material to it, but it doesn't have one. So we have this purple error material instead. So what we need to do for that, we need to come down to our mesh renderer, element 0, it says non-material. We do our little click here again. We're just going to select the default one again, double click, and there we go. We've got our cube with the same default gray material. And the last little bit it needed was a collider. So we come down to here, we type in col, and it will auto find anything with col in the name for us. And we wanted a box collider, click that, and then let's click edit collider, and it's auto snapped to the same size of our box because we have a cube mesh filter as well. So there we go, guys. We know how to create an game object by right-clicking, going to 3D game objects in cube, but we can also do it creating a brand new game object and attaching our components separately. Okay, guys, that's it for this video. I have attached a full sheet of hotkeys for Unity that you can look over at your leisure. It goes over some more that I didn't cover in this video, but all the basics are there as well. Okay, thank you very much then, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, do give us a thumbs up and share it. Also check out amazing discounts and offers on our premium courses in the description below.